Good evening, everybody. I want to introduce my special guest. This is Jozef. Jozef is part of the family. Jozef is the boyfriend of Jelle. And Jozef is here for quite a while. And helping me out when he's not with with Jelle. So we had a fun day today, creating stuff for domotics, and maybe you can tell something about yourself, Jozef.
So I'm from England, so you might be able to tell from my accent. So I'm visiting for about 3.5 weeks, so 1 week in now, so another 2.5 weeks. Welcome to the Netherlands, thank you. Another hacker, yes, kind of. Hacker, programmer,
Maker,
yeah,
tinkerer.
Bit of everything.
Yeah.
Almost sounds Australian, apparently.
Okay.
So that's the kind of important details about me, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jozef has quite some experience on tinkering, on doing the maker stuff, and Jozef is was the guest of the show, like for since the start.
Yeah.
And being the one trying to hack my M5 stack during the API key.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to do a shout out to Crazy for introducing me to the world of Mqtt. So he showed me a presentation a couple of weeks ago, like a one-on-one. And what I told him is that he should do these talks on either makerspaces or on MCH or whatever. So that got things started. So I bought stuff, a lot of stuff, and I did not know what to do. I wanted to solder already, so I soldered the pin headers to the devices, but did not do anything much. And together with Jozef, we put some stuff together. So what we did today, and I think Sebas and Crazy already know a lot about this stuff, but maybe people there that are new to this and watching this stream later might find this helpful to get started, as I find it helpful to get myself started. So what we're going to do, and I hope I'm able to show it to you. So this is our stack of Raspberry Pis, and what I did is I screwed it to a HP switch. So it has some of the earlier Raspberry Pis connected to it, and the top is a Raspberry Pi 4. So it is a cluster, and the idea is to it's only clustered on a hardware way now, but the idea is to turn it into a Kubernetes cluster and try some stuff out. But we're using it today to show how to set up Mqtt, how to set up Node-RED, hopefully how to set up Grafana, and how to flash the WMOS ESP8266. So we have a WMOS device, and it already has some I2C drivers connected to it. So doing it all on a Raspberry Pi might be a little bit challenging, but I think it will be fun. So we're going to switch now to another screen. So what we did is we mirrored the HDMI output for this stream, so you can see what we are doing. So you're not like looking at two people that are typing something on a keyboard that you can do. But to make it easy for you to read it, we skipped out the chat screen. So you could even run the Mqtt server. You could even run on a €5 Raspberry Pi Zero, but it will be harder for Grafana, for instance. So we're switching over to another view. where you can see our images and the screen, but not the chat screen. We are able to see your questions, and we will respond to those in the chat. So I think Joseph will be doing most of the typing now, and we have a freshly new installed Raspberry Pi, so we're going to do it from start.
Mm-hmm.
So switching to the co-host here.
Yep. So this is the Raspberry Pi screen.
There's no mouse.
The mouse does not appear to be responding.
Okay. So. And now? Is the power on? It is. Okay. So this is the first challenge. Hey, Nor, can someone type?
Shall I?
Okay, maybe like this. Hold on. Maybe you need to reboot it.
Maybe.
Yeah, thanks, boss.
It's not frozen on OBS or anything, is it? I don't know if that's
we are
even
not
possible.
frozen. No, I don't think so.
So just reboot it.
And take this one out.
Okay.
This was frozen on.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry for that. So we need this one. To be the USB video.
Ah, there we go.
Okay. And we're back.
Okay. So, when first booting a Raspberry Pi into Raspberry Pi OS, did they call it now?
Yeah, Raspberry Pi OS.
Yeah, you'll get a screen that looks something like this. So we can just quickly do the first time setup.
Yeah, and it is important that you set it to United States, or that you set the language to United States, otherwise you will be having a hard time typing, at least on the keyboards that I have in my house.
Yeah.
So country should be Netherlands.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dutch is. Yeah.
And US keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah. Okay.
So this is a Pi 4, I believe.
Yeah.
With how much memory?
I think 4.
Okay.
Simple password. So that's not. Yeah, it is kind of annoying having it default on UK, like you only want to sell it to the UK market, but yeah, this is a UK invention, so.
So the Pi will restart now?
Yeah, hence the test screen.
Uh-huh.
And there will be cores on top, or don't they do that anymore? Like the number of the raspberries on top?
That might be command line boot only, perhaps.
Ah, okay.
This is the more graphical boot,
Yeah.
so I don't think it includes it.
Never use it.
No. So this is now the default Raspberry in OS desktop.
Yeah.
So you've got a browser and the file manager and a console. So, what are we doing first? Was Mqtt server installed? Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what you can do is sudo -i, which makes you root for this session.
Yeah.
Some people don't do it that way, but I do.
Yeah, I do it as well.
So, firstly, you can do apt update to kind of refresh all the packages that the Raspberry Pi knows about.
Can you enlarge the screen a little bit?
Oh, yeah, of course. There might even be a font size option to make it a bit more easy to read. Maybe in edit. Yeah, zoom in. So that's Control Shift Plus. Yeah, there we go.
Actually,
much more readable now.
This is not visible.
Okay, so there are some updates that can be installed. Shall we go with the updates? So
Yeah, let's do it.
So that would be apt upgrade.
Yeah, Control plus, Control minus for doing larger and smaller font sizes.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Crazy.
So it should update fairly quickly, with it being a Pi 4 and fast internet.
Yeah. Don't know what the SD card is that is in the car in the.
It booted quick, so I think it's. Oh. I've seen slower anyway.
Yeah, that's right. I think this is a UCH1, so still one of the fastest things that are inside. But yeah, I've seen I think Orange Pi or Banana Pi where they use like M2 connector on the disk, so you can boot from a SD disk in SSD disk instead of from a SD card. Your weekend project still in the box is a Pi 8 GB with a SATA converter and 120 gigabit SSD is what Crazy says. Yeah, and I think the cool thing with the Pi 4 is that you can even do a net boot on it, or boot it from the hard disk as well.
Yeah, since the Pi 3 B something.
Yeah, there's a firmware update that they did for it.
Yeah, it was the
It
Pi
was not
3
initial like that. Okay.
But yeah, with the 4 you can definitely do net booting and USB booting and that sort of thing.
Cool.
Okay, so that's the updates installed.
Yeah, but not for the 2, Crazy. Or is there? A chip off and install PCIe SSD. That would be cool. Yeah.
So you can install the Mqtt server with apt install Mosquitto.
Yeah.
So we've gone with the Mosquitto server, even though there are some other servers available. So apt install Mosquitto is the server, and Mosquitto client is some useful command line utilities. Once I learn how to spell and type.
Can you auto complete it?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, you can. That would have been easier.
Yeah.
So Crazy is telling Sebas, if you try that, please stream it. You will have 2 other watchers as well for your channel if you're going to stream it. Okay, that's installed.
Yep.
So what do we do now?
So it is possible to run Mosquitto without any kind of authentication, so no usernames and passwords, but it's probably a good idea to set a password.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can do that with a Mosquitto password command.
Yeah.
So you can do the -c flag, and then this creates a file with the password information.
Yeah. This looks very similar to Apache, where they have this password creation file as well.
Yeah, it is similar to that.
Okay.
So we're just choosing a location for where we will store the password file, and then at the end you type in the name of the user you want.
Okay.
So
Choose any name.
M5.
M5, yeah, sure.
Why not?
Yeah.
Okay, and then you choose password.
Stack.
Stack. Sure. Then enter it again.
Cool.
And there we go.
Okay.
So all that does.
We should write it down probably.
Yeah, we will likely forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that just creates a file, and
Do I have
it's a pen?
a pen?
Yeah.
I secretly vanish behind the curtain. I have some. Yep. And I will. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things that we need to remember, and that's like we configured Mqtt to have a user that is M5 uppercase M,
Lowercase m.
lowercase m,
Yeah.
5, and the password
Stack. Lowercase.
stack. Another thing is this server is running on an IP address.
Yep.
So what's the IP address?
You can find that out with the
IP space A.
IP space A. Yeah.
Okay. So the IP address is 192.168.0.235.
Yeah. So that's
So
this one here.
hardly readable, but I put it on paper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So to configure the next step,
Yeah.
you need to access the or edit the Mosquitto default configuration file.
Okay. Cool.
So you could use Vi or Vim or Emacs
Yeah.
or any of the editors you want. But personally, I'm going to use Nano.
Yeah.
Because kind of learning the other editors is on my to-do list,
Yeah.
but not quite done
You
yet.
still need to do the VI escape speedrun.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
So the location for the default configuration is /etc/mosquitto confd and then default .config.
Okay. It's probably not there, right?
No, it does not appear to be
Okay.
there by default. So we are creating the default config here.
Okay.
No
spoilers, boss.
Okay.
I always say escaping VI is Shift ZZ.
I know how to get out of VI if I get in there by accident, but
Yeah.
I don't know how to use it if I'm in there by accident.
If you do the Shift ZZ, I once told a colleague who asked me how to escape VI. I told him Shift ZZ,
Okay.
and that would like abandon all your work and exit.
Okay.
So he lost the entire days of work.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, not nice, but
No. Then you should learn how to do Vim.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So to prevent people from being able to connect to your MQTT server without a password,
Okay.
you can do the allow anonymous false.
Yeah.
Again, I'm spelling wrong. So that's allow _anonymous and then a space and false.
Yeah.
And then you can configure where the password file is,
Yeah.
and that's the one we created just a minute ago.
Yeah.
So in this case, we saved it to etc mosquitto and then password. So
Note with that, Mosquitto will randomly forget its security settings.
okay, is there a
Can you explain that, Sebas? We had a ton of problems with the one at RefSpace. So did you do another way of storing your settings? As it did work for us. But if there's a better way, I would gladly hear it. It does not have to be now. You can come back to it later if you want to. Okay. Not really, but info on the details. But we had a read-only MQTT server on the public side and forgot it was read-only. It forgot it was read-only a day later. Okay, I will ask. Yeah. Okay. For now we're going like with the default setting to see what is going on and find out if there's any additionals to this. We'll add it to the stream details.
Yeah. So hopefully there's been an update for the software
Yeah,
and it's
it
fixed any issues.
could be as well. Yeah.
Hopefully at least.
Yeah.
So that should be configured now to not allow people to log in without a password.
Yeah. Skip this.
Okay. So we then need to restart the server for it to take effect. The changes to take effect. That is. So you can do that with system control and restart Mosquitto.
Okay. And is it already persistent? So will it run at start, or do you need to?
I think by default it does run at start.
Okay.
But to be certain, you can do system control enable Mosquitto.
Okay.
So you can do that just to be certain it absolutely will start at reboot.
Cool.
So we can send test messages to the server now.
Yeah.
With the Mosquitto clients package reinstalled. So this gives you at least two different functions. For example, you've got Mosquitto pub and Mosquitto sub.
Okay.
So pub allows you to send a message into the MQTT server, and sub allows you to subscribe and essentially get any messages on a specified topic.
Sebastian is writing in the chat, cpan install net MQTT simple. MQTT simple is a very nice client. Cpan, does that mean it's Perl? Or is that just an assumption? Okay, cool. We'll look into that. It runs like an app. Okay.
So for this, I'm going to have two terminals open to make things a bit clearer. Okay. I'm not that experienced with Linux GUIs. I tend to just stay in the kind of command line interface.
Yeah.
Also, not too comfortable with the trackpad either, but we'll get there in a minute. That's no problem. I don't use the mouse too much. So
there should be a mouse here. So let me give you a mouse.
Okay, thank you.
Here's a mouse.
Yeah. So we have the original window on the left and the new window on the right.
Crazy is telling just use screen and split it in there.
Yeah, I could have done. Definitely could have done that.
But this is something educational for you as well, trying to learn.
Well, I am familiar with screen, but I usually go back and forth between two tabs, taking up a full screen rather than splitting. So I knew you could split, but wasn't familiar with the command to do it.
Okay.
So we can do... I'll just clear this terminal to make it a bit easier to read.
Yeah.
So we can do Mosquitto sub for subscribe.
Yeah. So that would listen to whatever is published.
Yeah, you can tell it what to listen for.
Okay.
So what I will tell it to do is listen to every single message in general sent to the server.
Yeah.
Because for now there won't be too many. So the H flag is the host name of the server.
Yeah.
So in this case it is localhost.
Yeah.
Because it's running on the machine I'm using here. We can do the T flag, which means topic. And in MQTT, the kind of
wildcard.
That's the wildcard symbol.
Yeah.
The Twitter hashtag symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you can do V, which gives you a slight bit more information about all the messages that are being printed on the console.
Cool.
So you get a not authorized error.
Wow.
And this is because we set up a username and password.
Okay.
So we can specify the U flag, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
For user.
Yeah.
Which is
M5, lowercase.
Yeah.
I wrote it down.
And then maybe
that's P.
The P flag, and then
stack.
It would help if I didn't have a typo. Stack. Okay.
That's a port, so uppercase
P.
P.
Oh yeah, uppercase P.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get there.
Yeah.
It appears to be working now.
Cool.
So for now, nothing's going to appear here because we're not using the Mqtt server yet.
Unless someone hacked our network, but you're here, so that could not happen.
I have local access to the network now, so I can
hacker voice. I'm in.
Yeah. So luckily there is another command, which is why I have this second terminal open. Yep. So we have a Mosquitto pub command.
Yeah.
Which allows you to put a message into the Mqtt server, a publish request essentially. So it's structured similar.
Crazy was hoping for an internet-facing Mqtt server for this stream.
Just turn off your firewall.
We can make a port forward or do whatever, but I think that I will lose my Made for Children flag on on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, so the
Crazy is telling you could do this, create a /test/random and inject the stuff in there. Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that.
Cool command line. Let's first do a simple thing.
Yeah, a simple test. So the flags are similar to the subscribe
localhost.
So it's the H flag and then localhost.
Yeah.
The T flag for topic.
Yeah.
So for the topic, we can have it called, I don't know, test.
Okay.
Seems like a good topic for a first test.
And if you have like different topics, like want to group them together, how would you do that?
The most common way of having multiple kind of subtopics would be with a /.
Okay.
So you could have like test as the main topic, and then you could have like a second test kind of thing with a /.
We can say like living room sensor in the couch.
Yeah. So you could have sensors as the main topic, and then maybe temperature as the second topic, and maybe the room as the third topic, or something along those lines. But it's up to you how you would configure this. But for now, we'll just have test. It seems like a good topic for a simple test message. So you can then do the M flag to add some content to the publish.
That's the message that you're sending to the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So in this case, I think "Hello World" is kind of a good thing we could put. So on the screen we are, on the left of the screen we are listening for messages, and on the right we are about to send one. Of course, we also need to provide the username, which is M5, and the password is stack. So if we send that, we should see it in the left.
Hello world. Cool.
So
test is the topic and hello world is the message.
Yeah. So we could change the topic to topic. And then on the left we should see topic and then hello world.
Yeah.
So because we have the V flag on the subscribe, it is also showing the topic.
Yeah.
But you could also omit that and you would just see hello world and nothing else. So that is the installation of a basic Mqtt server.
Okay.
Which is just running on this Pi.
Okay. So if we want to fill that with sensors, Like I have an M5, not M5. I have a VMOS small ESP8266.
The WeMOS D1 Mini.
Yeah, WeMOS D1 Mini.
Yeah.
You're able to use this for sensors.
Yeah.
So what do you need to do to make this work?
The easiest way, or the way we're going to use it at least, is Tasmota.
Okay.
Which has been recommended by a few people.
Yeah. In the stream even.
Yeah.
So can we set up an environment to flash this stick from within the
Raspberry Pi?
From within the Raspberry Pi, yeah.
Yeah, we can open up a new terminal and enlarge that so you can actually see it. And once again, I'm going to switch to root. So a good tool for programming ESP devices such as the WeMOS D1 Mini is Esp Tool.
Yeah.
And
there's two ways of doing it.
Yeah, I tested this earlier, and I first installed it with the apt package manager.
Yeah.
And got an old, outdated version which contained a bug.
Yeah.
Which made it a lot more difficult to program than it should have been. However, if you use the Python package manager, the pip,
yeah.
You get a more up-to-date kind of version of it.
Yeah.
So you can do pip install and then Esp Tool.
So the Tasmotizer, is that like for Linux as well, Crazy? I've seen it for Windows. Crazy was suggesting that why not use Tasmotizer. Tasmotizer is nice for people who want to have a GUI.
Yeah.
Oh, it's cross-platform.
Nice.
Okay. I did run into some issues. It's not that strong on error handling. Oh, Twitch died.
Okay.
Only for you, or?
Crazy says it's back.
Oh, okay. Sebas, okay. Odd. We had it last time as well. So Restream is using new HD streams. Maybe they try to push us towards that one.
Maybe.
Okay, so Esp Tool is installed.
Yep, it's usually a fast install.
Yeah.
So you can test your connection to the ESP, of course by plugging it in, which I'm going to do now.
So it's now connected via micro USB.
Yeah.
And where if you are going to reflash modules like the Sonoff devices, then you need to do like special commands and put it into boot mode.
Yeah.
So, hey Theo. So this is all being handled by the USB connection. So it will already put it into the correct mode to allow you to flash it.
Yeah. So you can test the connection is working with Esp Tool. And you can do, for example, the flash ID command.
Okay.
Which should show you the ID of the chip connected.
Oh, it already shows the serial port. I used to specify that.
Yeah, if you have more than one plugged in, you need to specify which USB port it is. But because we only have one, Esp Tool is smart enough to realize it's the one device that's connected.
And it shows the MAC address and it shows the correct chip already.
So it knows it's an ESP8266 and it knows the size of the flash, which is this one here.
Yeah.
And then, so you know it's working basically once you get all this. So the next step, I think would be downloading Tasmota.
Yeah, we need to download it.
Yeah. Because obviously it's kind of difficult to flash it without downloading it first.
So there's different ways for the Tasmota. So Tasmota.
Yeah.
So there's like special devices that you can use to flash your Sonoff or Shelly, or your other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a special firmware for ESP modules that's called Tasmota sensors, and that already has support for a lot of sensors inside, so it will already recognize a lot of I2C sensors.
So this is the official Tasmota kind of GitHub repository.
Yeah.
So it's open source, so you could view the source if you wanted to, and there's a lot of different information on here for installing it. But for now, I think we're just going to go straight to the download.
Okay.
So there is a link somewhere. I believe
Binaries, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's the Zigbee bridge, there's an RF bridge, so you could also use that to do other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So to flash like Sonoff devices, to make turn those into Tasmota drivers,
Mm-hmm.
devices.
Yeah. So for us, we want the Tasmota sensors, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we download that, it goes into the home/pi/downloads folder, which I believe is here.
Correct.
So if we do ls, we get Tasmota sensors bin.gzip.
Okay.
So this one is compressed, so we will do gunzip or gunzip, and then Tasmota sensors.bin.gz.
So Crazy is telling in the chat, you can also go to https://tasmota.github.io/docs,
Yeah.
or github.com/arranst/tasmota
Mm-hmm.
for people that do not want to type it all in.
Yeah.
So one of the benefits of using the gunzip is that it would show an error if it was damage during downloads.
Yeah. So yeah, if it was a corrupted download, then it wouldn't unzip. So we can put this onto the D1 Mini quite easily. It's the Esp Tool command again. So that's esptool.py. And again, I don't think we need to specify the ports.
Okay.
Because we only have one plugged in.
Yeah.
We want the I would recommend doing erase flash first.
Yeah.
So this kind of makes sure there's no configuration on the D1 Mini. So anything that's on there will be gone after this command, basically. So you know you've got a clean chip to work with.
Cool.
So once that's done, we can do the Esp Tool command again, and this time with write flash. So you need to specify the
Format.
the way it is being written. So that is the FM flag, and then D out. I can drag the window across because
I'm in the way.
Oh, yeah, you're in the way again. Yeah.
Hey Arun, we're currently doing a stream on Domotics on how to create Mqtt environment and creating our own sensor network using ESP8266.
Yeah. So we then need to specify the beginning of the flash. So in this case, it's 0, so 0x0.
Yeah.
And then the file we've just downloaded and decompressed. So that's the tasmota-sensors.bin.
Okay.
So if we run that, it will take about 30 seconds or so. And then once that's done, we will have Tasmota installed. And then we can get to the config and all the sensors and the fun stuff.
Cool. Hey Jeroen. So Jeroen, we are currently setting up an Mqtt environment for doing domotics on a sensor network using ESP8266 on I2C. So we have already set up the Mqtt server. So what we're now doing is we're flashing the hardware with new software, so we're able to collect information from different sensors. So now we need to connect the Pi to the Wi-Fi.
Yes, the installation has now finished. So it should automatically reset itself, but you can press the reset button if you want to be certain.
There's a button on the side.
Yep, the small button on the side near the USB port. And then there should now be a Wi-Fi network which a phone can connect to configure it. So would you like to do that on your phone?
Yeah.
I think you've set it up more times than I have.
So what I'm doing is I'm opening my network. And I don't know if you're able to see it, but there's a Tasmota ddr704E-4174. And if you look at the screen, the dd704E is already the MAC address. Yep. So I'm going to connect to it, and it will create a captive portal. So this will be a untrusted network that just has a username and password, and will show you this screen to configure it. So it states Sonoff basic module, Tasmota, and you need to create the access point, the password. So the access point is M5 stack. And the password is hack me not, and then there's some other stuff not here right now. So I'm pressing save, and now it will say that it is rebooting the device and is now trying to connect to the network.
So the reboot takes about 10 seconds, I think. 5 to 10 depending on how it's feeling.
They do have security built into it, so what you can do is use TLS certificates. There is already a username password attached to it. So yeah, crazy post that on GitHub there's already initial configuration screenshots that you can watch on how to configure it. So it's not totally open. You can use it open, but we chose to use like a simple password. So this will still be sent over the network unencrypted. So doing like proper configuration, proper security is possible, but I would still recommend to use a domotics VLAN for this kind of stuff. So it is now connected. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to start Fing on my telephone, and Fing is a tool. Actually, I'm going to start Net Analyzer that will scan every device on the computer, and I think this one is 192.168.
I'm just looking at the initial configuration page.
Okay.
So there is a getting started section on here.
So this one? Okay.
So this is the stage we're at now.
Yeah.
So we've connected to the Tasmota network.
Oh, they're not going. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have done that part.
Yeah, done that part.
We have entered the SSID and password, and we are about here now.
Arun, I think that for TLS you need to create your own compiled binary to do that. So there's already basic functionality into the binary, but to save space you can turn on and turn off certain properties, like adding different sensors, removing sensors. But we saw, like in the configuration earlier today, that you could turn on TLS.
So this is just a screenshot of what it looks like when you first connect to the Tasmota network. So you have the IP address?
Yeah, I have it. It's 192.168. That's a comma, I believe. The first
Is that
one.
a comma? Yeah, that's a comma.
.223.
Okay.
So this is the initial setting, and I had really a hard time understanding this on how to configure this. But what you need to do first is you need to configure this device to be to work on a certain piece of hardware. So the firmware has no knowledge of the different ecosystems that it is running on. So if you click on configuration, sorry.
Configuration.
Yeah.
And
then module on the top.
Yeah.
That's where you can configure the device. So this is default configured for a Sonoff basic environment. So there's only 5 ports that you can use, like a serial in, serial out, sensor, and I think that maybe the GPIO 2 and 3 are connected to something else or are free to use. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down this list, and if you scroll down to the end, there will be a generic 18. So if you select the generic 18 and press save, the device will reboot. It will reboot a lot of times though.
Mm-hmm.
But since it is embedded, it will reboot quite fast.
Yeah. And
so,
there we go.
And there we go. So we can go back to configuration.
Yeah.
And now we go to configure module.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of the 6 channels, we now have a lot.
Yeah.
So there's like a lot of GPIOs. There's an analog port. So the ESP8266 only has one analog port, but you can, for instance, buy a certain module that would allow you to do multiple analog signals in a special resolution, either 12 or 16 bits over I2C. So we're going to leave this alone. Yeah. And we're going to go to the console. So we're going to back to the earlier one. So main menu, yeah.
Okay.
And there's a console, and this is like the console page of the device. So this has been loaded from Flash. I think this is the 9th time we booted up. It will show the IP address, it is connected to a certain network, and it will already show some information like to what device is it connected, what is my IP address, what is the uptime, and all that kind of stuff. And this is stuff that is already being shared over Mqtt. So what we're going to do is we're going to show, I think, a subscribe command on the Raspberry Pi.
We need to configure this to use the Mqtt server first.
Yeah, I thought if we have the screen up and configure the Mqtt, we will immediately see the messages in Mqtt.
Yeah.
But we need to configure Mqtt, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. I did leave the command running.
Oh, okay.
So here it is with the hello world commands, messages we sent earlier. Yeah. So we can just put a few new spaces in there.
Yeah.
Put that to the top. And now we will see any new messages sent to Mqtt appear on this left part of the screen.
And I made notes, so we have these notes to configure Mqtt on this machine. So we need to go back to the main menu.
Yeah. So main menu.
and go to configuration.
Mm-hmm.
Go to configure Mqtt.
Yep.
And we need to specify a host. And the host in this case is 192. So this is the IP address of the Raspberry Pi .168.0.235. So 1883 is the default server if you're not using TLS. So this is the unencrypted version of the server.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is protected by password.
Yeah.
The device name with the %06x will add the MAC address of the last 3 octets to the host name. And then there's a user and a password. The user in this case is M5 lowercase.
Yep.
And the password is stack in lowercase. So if we scroll down, there's a save button.
So we can configure the topic information here, but we'll just go straight to the save.
Okay. And we're already seeing information on the Mqtt server.
So immediately we've got quite a few messages.
Yeah.
And more will keep coming in over time.
So we see restart, fallback topic, web server mode, but these are all generic parts that you can configure, but you want to configure like real data. So what I did is today I soldered this chain of I2C sensors. So it's a couple of different ones. So if we connect the device to this board.
Yep. I will
disconnect it.
I'll power it down while I connect it, just in case I touch any of the pins.
Yeah. And since we're the power needs to be on the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we have chained all these together.
Yeah.
So we used the so this is the chip that we programmed. And it has a connection with 2 wires to I2C and to the power, and it has like a chain of different sensors underneath it. Okay, so now we're going to
put the power back on.
Put the power back on, and we only need power. There's nothing else that we need.
Okay, so these sensors have lights on them. So
some of them.
Some of them do, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a good sign.
Jeroen is telling this is becoming M5 Stack headquarters. Well, M5 Stack in fact is not using an ESP8266. They're using an ESP32.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Tasmota is currently running a ESP32 model, but I think it's still in test. But if we have some time left, we could like set up an M5 stack to communicate on Mqtt as well. We have never tried it, but let's see if that works.
Yeah.
We might want to decrease the telemetry interval for faster demoing.
Yeah.
Okay. So go to configuration.
And then it's possibly logging. Or maybe. Oh yeah. Telemetry.
So we set that to 10 seconds, which is the minimum.
So this is milliseconds. So 10 seconds would be.
No, that's seconds.
Okay.
So it's every 5 minutes, but now.
Decrease the telemetry. Yeah. Okay. So 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Good idea. So what we're seeing now is like data popping in, but mostly about the environment. So this is connected to the Wi-Fi, and hey, I'm still up. Yeah. So there's no sensor data, although all the sensors are connected. So what we now need to do is connect the make sure that these sensors will be recognized, and we do that by configuring the device, configuring the module.
Okay.
And we need to configure the I2C options. And there's a lot of GPIO pins, but what is important here is the markings at the top. So the D1, RX, A0, those are the markings that are on the device itself. And what we did is we looked at the ESP32 and looked what the actual I2C pins are to have like hardware support for the I2C. So D1 is the clock, and D2 is the data. So if you scroll down, there will be I2C, SCL for the clock.
So clock on D1.
Yeah.
And then
D2.
D2 is
data.
The data.
Yeah, you passed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to save it again.
Okay. And then it restarts again.
Yeah. So you see in MQTT server, hey, I'm offline. Or I'm going offline. Yeah. And the reason is there's a restart. And you already see all the sensors that it recognized. So there's 3 sensors. There's a BME 280, which is a temperature, humidity and air pressure. There's a BMP 280, which is a temperature and pressure. And there is an illuminance sensor that will specify from 1 to 65,000 lux on a high resolution of .5 specified. So if you now go to console, you will actually see the addresses of the I2C. So the BME is on 7.6, the BMP is on 7.7 in hex, and the BH1750 is on 23 in hex. And these are the sensors that are recognized. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sensors connected, but there's only 3 recognized. So these are in the default sensor network. So we still need to create a new firmware. We tried that earlier this day, but we were not very successful. So we have to do with this information now. But the other sensor is a lightning sensor. So it will recognize lightning being struck in the vicinity, I think, of 40 kilometers. And the other one is a gyroscope. So the gyroscope will tell you is if something is moving and at what speed. So if these are stationary sensors, if they are moving, something is seriously wrong. Like that there is an earthquake, or there is an explosion or something. So the reason I'm putting these in is like for having information on more impactful events. Yeah, that's a 60-50, yeah. And the 60-50 is not in there by default. So we're connecting these ones. So we now have set up an MQTT server on a Raspberry Pi. We have we have installed the Esp Tool, flashed an VMOS8266 on Tasmota. So we only have the data coming in, but this data will vanish. So it is just something that is there for a while and then will go away. So we need a way to somehow parse this data. So how are we going to do that, Joseph?
Well, for me, a piece of software I've used quite often is Node-RED, which is similar to UI Flow that you were showing off with the M5 stack, where you can drag blocks in a visual editor in a way that allows you to kind of create your logic without writing too much code. You can put JavaScript code in there if you want to, but it's mostly kind of GUI based to make it a lot easier to kind of work with. Okay. So I like it because you can make quick changes and quick tests without having to kind of write a whole bunch of code to do so.
Cool.
So we can install Node-RED.
Yeah.
Quite easily, thankfully, because I like the easy solutions. We can do it with the...
Yeah, it's not in here. So we did it using apt-get, I think?
Yeah. There is a way you can install it using the maybe compiling it from source or other methods, but the easiest way is with apt-get.
Yeah. So Jeroen is asking, hang on, you're using a Pi and an ESP, why not only an ESP? So Crazy is already telling like the broker is running on the Pi.
Mm-hmm.
So we installed Mqtt before, and that's a broker. So what you can do is make the ESP send all the sensor data to the broker, to the Mqtt server, and all the devices that are subscribed to it, and it could be like an Alexa, or it could be like a screen, or could be a website, could all benefit from its data.
Yeah.
So what we're now going to do is create a client for the broker that retrieves the data that is collected from the Mqtt server.
Mm-hmm.
Which is called Node-RED, which is a flow designer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can install that with apt install Node-RED.
So Jeroen is asking why not hook those sensors up directly to the Pi. You can do that, but this is a more a generic solution. So if you have a Pi and just a few sensors, that's okay. But if you are using like sensors over your entire house, you have to put a lot of cabling. And by using the ESP8266, you can place sensors everywhere, even in your garden, even outside, and they will all talk to your broker, which talks to your Raspberry Pi. Could have as well been your virtualization cluster, could even be in the cloud, for all I care.
Yeah. So for me, it used to be a Raspberry Pi, and now it's running on a virtual machine within Proxmox.
Yeah.
So you can put the Mqtt broker on almost any piece of hardware, but it's good to have a central location for all the data to go into. Yeah. So then there's just one place you have to manage for handling the data.
Yeah. Yeah, and my experience with hooking up sensors to the device that is running the hardware itself, that it makes the device very vulnerable. Yeah. So if you're playing with the connections with I2C, that would reboot the device to make it recognize it again, or might break the Raspberry Pi, and then you break your server as well.
Yeah. And then, of course, if you've got lots of different ESPs with sensors, you can replace any failed ESPs if there does happen to be a failure. And if you have the Pi separate, you can do a backup and then recover it if the Pi fails. And it gives you kind of more
and I think there was even a configuration for doing like a secondary Mqtt server.
Yeah. You can make the Mqtt side quite reliable. You can have kind of like a fail-safe kind of Mqtt server, but that's quite advanced for now. I think getting just one server working is a good start for today.
This should get people started, just like Crazy helped me get started, and you helped me get started. So it's just passing on the knowledge. And for people that have the opportunity, go and watch Crazy's presentation, as it is more in detail, will show more background. This is just an hands-on overview on how to set it up. His will be even better.
Mm-hmm. So that is the Node-RED install complete now.
Yeah.
So to make it start up at boot, again, it's the system control command, and then enable and Node-RED.
Yeah.
.service.
Yeah. At least that's what your autocomplete told
Yeah,
me.
that's what my autocomplete said, yeah. I typed in Node-RED, typed tab, and then it put a service on the end. So,
Love Linux.
Yeah.
So you enabled it. Do you need to start it as well?
I will also start it. Yeah. System command and then start and node. Okay, it's not responding.
Maybe you already did it.
there we
Okay, yeah.
I think I pressed tab a bit too soon for
Yeah.
it and upset it. Okay, so it should, along with Mqtt, start at boot.
Yeah.
So you can then open up the web interface for Node-RED, because this is an entirely web-based piece of software.
So we already wrote down the so that there's a couple of ports that you need. You already heard the 1883, which is the TCP port for Mosquitto MQTT.
Yeah.
But there's another one for Node-RED, which is 1880.
Yeah.
So the IP address of the Raspberry Pi is 192.168.0.235. Oh, or localhost.
In this case, because I'm sat at the
even
Raspberry
easier.
Pi, it is localhost.
Cool.
But if you were using another device on the network, it would be the full address. Yeah. So we can.
So for anyone watching in this house, logging in.
Yeah. Someone upstairs or
someone
wherever
upstairs.
can take access in a minute. So this is how.
Yeah, no pressure. It needs to be better. So Crazy is telling now I really need to finish that presentation. Yeah, that presentation will grant you free hotels over the entire world. I promise you. Okay.
So Node-RED, when you first load into it, will be completely blank. So you've got kind of 3 tabs going on here. You've got the kind of things you can drag in.
Yeah.
And then this big kind of grid in the middle is where you drag your kind of different things.
Yeah.
So it's quite visual. You drag and you can do it that way.
So earlier this day we saw some information that there was already Pi information in here.
Yes. If you scroll to the very bottom of this list, there are 4 Raspberry Pi specific kind of
GPIO stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what they call this on Node. Are these like modules or functions? I'm not sure, but there are 4 things specific specific to
blue
the Raspberry
things.
Pi. Yeah. 4 blue boxes. Yeah.
My co-host is Joseph. Joseph is the boyfriend of Jelle, so he's part of our family and he is here for a week now, and he has a lot of experience with tinkering. He's tinkering his entire life and has a lot of experience, so you should come over as well and meet him. I think you will love what he has to share as well.
So, right at the bottom is the Raspberry Pi stuff, which today we aren't going to use. You may have noticed there was this MQTT in and MQTT out.
Yeah.
2 different blocks.
Yeah.
Maybe they're called blocks. So we've got messages in.
Yeah.
So this allows you to bring a message into Node-RED.
Yeah.
So because we have MQTT installed, and we would like the messages into Node-RED, we can use this one.
Okay.
So the first thing you need to do after dragging it into the kind of working area, the sketchbook, whatever you call it in Node-RED, you can double click, and this brings up some configuration options.
Okay. So we need an MQTT broker.
Yeah, we need to configure the MQTT server.
Okay.
So you can do that by clicking this kind of pen or pencil icon here. So this allows you to choose.
Oh, that's Arun. That's the TLS enablement, and I think if you click it, the port will change to. No, it will not. I think that the port should change to 8883. I think. At least that's what is in the documentation. We're not going to use this, so for this case, this will also be localhost then.
Yeah.
Since we're running the MQTT server also on the Pi.
Yeah.
Client ID, so that might be to see might be Node-RED, so you will see that Node-RED is querying the for your logging.
You could leave it blank for a random name, or you could give it a more friendly name, such as Node-RED.
And the security.
Yep.
Yeah, username M5 lowercase, and password is stack.
Okay. And then the messages tab at the moment can stay all on default.
Okay, cool.
So if you do add, and not save the password in Chrome,
you need to have a topic.
Yeah. So for now, we can leave this on the wildcard.
Okay.
Unless you think it's better not to.
No, I think wildcard is okay.
Just for testing, we'll have it on the wildcard.
But since this is a design environment, so instead of filtering in the connection, we could also filter in the device. But it would not subscribe to as much. So reducing the topics in here would reduce the amount of traffic that it generates. That's like the only benefit, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you were only interested in one piece of information, you could type in the topic you were interested in.
Yeah.
But because this makes it a bit easier for testing while we're setting everything up, we can leave the wildcard there, and then press done. So now the node. Oh. Okay, we were a bit out of focus, were we?
Never trust a computer with your focus. Okay.
So now we're slightly more in focus.
Yeah. So we're no longer anonymous. Mask can be off.
Yeah. So with this being a visual editor, you can drag this kind of square to the right of this block into another block.
I really love this way of connecting the devices. I don't know if you ever worked with draw.io.
I've heard of it but never used it.
So draw.io is like the freeware Visio. But you need to like create straight lines, otherwise there will be like a glitch in the line. And aligning all the objects is so hard to do that if you scale them somehow, it will look glitchy. And by having like curved lines, you totally solve that.
So just to make sure that Node-RED is working correctly, we will have a debug kind of block, which, right at the top, I've gone past it. And there is a line to grid on this, so it's hard to see, but it is snapping to the grid. So if you draw a line from the Mqtt in to the debug option, and then you can press deploy at the top right. And this right hand tab, we have kind of this bug icon here. So if you click on that, we get the debug output.
So we already see all the information here. Temperature, dew point, pressure, BMP. So this is a JSON format. So it will have nested sensor readings.
At the moment, it is showing it has picked it up as a string.
Okay.
So what you can do is double click on the Mqtt. And you can tell it to output a parsed JSON object.
Okay.
So if everything that goes into Mqtt is JSON, you can do that, and it should start giving you nesting and kind of better visualization. However, if it isn't JSON, you'll get this error that's failed to parse JSON string.
Okay.
So that may have just been some of the telemetry that wasn't JSON that could have triggered that error. But now we do have this nested.
Or maybe halfway communication.
So we now do have the nested messages, which makes it easier to read and work with in general.
Oh, you can even click them open and close them. Jeroen is asking if you're familiar with Homey.
No, I don't think I've heard of that.
Can you explain what Homey is, Jeroen? I will make it audible.
So straight away we can see the data is appearing in Node-RED. So,
Yep.
so we know Node-RED is installed correctly now.
Cool.
Because we are able to do stuff with it.
Okay.
I'm just curious what Homey is now.
Okay.
Just waiting.
Come on, Jeroen. Tell us. Tell us. So, to my understanding, Homey is a device that is like a multi-protocol kit that allows speech recognition to communicate with all your home devices.
Okay.
So it includes Zigbee, Z-Wave, 433.
Oh, so kind of like a bridge between.
It's a bridge,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
But it's like a standalone device.
Mm-hmm.
So it needs to be perfectly centered into the entire environment.
Okay.
And I think it was a Kickstarter even. So with Homey you can connect thousands of sensors to it.
Okay.
To the device itself. I think the speech is gone. Our speech.
I think maybe the speech.
Oh yeah. Used to have like speech recognition, but they had some. You can hook it up to Google Home to do so.
Uh-huh.
One of the benefits of this solution over Homey is that you can add like the sensors of Homey to this network. So you can make a Z-Wave bridge, a Zigbee bridge, a RF bridge. You can include speech recognition, although it's through Alexa, I think. But you can create a larger network. As I used to have a Nodo Domotica, and it had a hard time picking up all the click on, click out sensors. You need more antennas, more sensors. So this enables you to even have sensors at the neighbors, at your hackerspace, at whatever you want them to be, and still incorporate them into your environment, which is very open. So I really like that, and it is very affordable. So just a Raspberry Pi and a simple €5 ESP, a couple of sensors for a few euros, and you're home free. Okay?
Nice.
Cool?
Mm-hmm. So, what shall we do next?
Now we have the data, but this data is gone. Can we somehow store this data?
Yep.
Well, I go and grab myself another Club Mate.
Sure.
You're fine with Mate?
Yep. I've
Well, I secretly vanished behind this portal.
The portal behind us. Yeah. Yeah. So, because later on we want to have some data visualization, we've decided to go with Grafana and MySQL. So MySQL, if you're not familiar, is a database, so you can store all the sensor data kind of permanently or for however long you want to store it for. And then Grafana will allow you to make graphs or other visualizations of that data. So it's quite good for kind of seeing trends or changes within the data. So if we go back to a terminal, we can go ahead and start the installation for a MySQL server.
Cool. Is it still called MySQL, or is MariaDB?
Yeah, that's a good question. Could be MariaDB. Or
Yeah, it could be MariaDB in the back and still named MySQL. I don't know.
Let's go with.
If it auto-completes?
No.
Okay. There's no server.
Could be MySQL common. Oh well, let's try MariaDB.
MariaDB server. Okay.
Yep, let's go with that then, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So, might take a few minutes to install that.
How much was the homie, Jeroen? So Jeroen says it's definitely cheaper. I think it was a few €100, right? I'm turning the light on, darling. Huh?
Okay, so that is MariaDB installed.
Almost €300.
Ooh.
Okay. So now we have MySQL.
Yeah.
So now we need to install Grafana. Oh, we need to set up MySQL first and create a database.
Yes.
Okay.
So we do have the MySQL commands now available
not
to
the
us.
client. Okay. Maybe it's MariaDB.
Yeah, I think it is configured to automatically run.
Okay.
But we could try the systemctl
Enable. Dot service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So it's done that for us by default.
And start it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe it's just MariaDB. Okay.
Okay.
We could check the logs directory to see if
Yeah.
MariaDB has created anything.
MySQL.
MySQL, yeah. And
Error log.
just check there's no errors in there. That all looks fairly normal. So
Yeah.
I think it's working and it has configured itself to automatically run.
Okay. So can we connect to it?
So it's MySQL admin, is it? When you want to kind of to create a database, we need the command line utility.
You can just connect to it and create database.
Yeah. I just couldn't remember if it was
Okay.
MariaDB
Yeah,
or
yeah.
MySQL
Yeah.
DB or MySQL admin. But yeah, this seems to. So they just MySQL command.
Yeah. So if you do use MySQL, database change, yeah, there's extra, and show tables. Yeah, that works. So now we can create a database, and that is required for Grafana.
Yeah.
So we're create database Grafana. Okay.
So that is one a database created. So
Yeah.
we can switch to that with use Grafana.
So if we do show tables, there would be no tables.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any tables. Okay.
Okay.
And in the background, you can still see the sensor data coming in.
Yeah.
Just here. So
Cool.
we know that's still working, which is always good. So we can create a table now.
Do we need to create a table?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grafana will not create a table for you.
Okay. Yeah.
You create a table and then tell Grafana how the table
Yeah.
is configured. So there may be an online utility which kind of makes this a bit easier rather than typing it by hand.
We already found something lately.
Yeah. So MySQL table generator online, something like that.
Yeah.
Can't type today.
Yeah.
Online.
W-tools, yeah?
So you can type everything by hand, but this generates it for you, so you know there's no errors in there. And then you can paste it into MySQL. You don't have to give this access or anything crazy
Easy
like that.
giveaway.
Yeah. So table name is Grafana.
Yeah. So we have database Grafana, table Grafana, and we need an unique ID, I think. Maybe, or daytime. No, there needs to be like a unique element to it.
So we can have
auto increment,
an ID which automatically increments.
Okay.
So this ensures that every entry in the database is unique.
Yeah.
So if you ever need to delete anything, there's a reference point that is unique that you can refer to then.
Cool.
So a very important column to have is the date and the time. Yeah. So I'll call it date time and select date time in this list.
Yeah.
So we can allow null, and the default will be we can leave it as none. So if you don't specify a date time, there just won't be a date time. So
we need different sensors.
Yeah.
So what sensors did we have?
Yeah.
Let me look at my telephone.
Okay.
So what was the IP again from
the IP for Tasmota?
Yeah, 223. Okay. So 223. Oh, sorry. 192.168.0.223. So we have temperature. So if we temp or temperature.
So we're going to have one row per sensor.
Yeah, for now, like optimizing it would be like something that you could do yourself.
Okay. So we'll have that as temp.
Yeah, and it's going to be a real, I think.
Okay. So this tells you.
It has fractions.
Yeah. When you mouse over, it tells you what it is.
Okay.
So we can leave that as default, I believe.
Yeah.
And then new column.
There's humidity.
So we'll call this one humid.
Humid.
Yeah.
There's also fraction.
So real again.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's pressure.
Press.
Yeah.
And that is that a decimal number or?
No, it's also
real again.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's illuminance or light.
Call it light.
And that's an integer.
An integer. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's it.
So we have an ID.
Yeah.
We have date time.
Yeah.
And we have these 4 different sensors.
Cool.
Not missing anything, are we?
No.
Okay. So if we press generate.
Yeah. All our data will be sent to China.
Maybe. We can then copy this.
Yeah.
And paste it into the MySQL console that we have open here.
Okay, it's already having Grafana as database.
Yeah, we did use Grafana earlier. So if we paste that in and press enter. Okay.
There can only be one auto column.
Oh yeah. We need to make one slight change. So the we need to press.
Primary key.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
maybe index it on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So generate.
Okay.
And then hopefully this one will work. So if we paste that in and press enter,
Wow.
query OK, so that should now exist.
You're such a full stack developer.
So we can do list tables again.
Yeah. Or describe tables.
Describe tables, yeah.
Describe table Grafana. It's show tables or describe table. Did we name it Grafana? Yeah.
Show tables.
Describe. Can you do describe Grafana? Desk.
No. So
Yeah.
describe or
Yeah.
and then
Grafana.
okay, good, yeah.
Yeah.
So this shows the information we entered on the website. So we have the ID, which is the primary key, and the auto increment.
Yep.
So yeah, that looks like everything we entered earlier.
Cool. So now we need to squeeze the data from Node-RED into this database.
Mm-hmm. So for now we can just head back to Node-RED.
Okay. So is there like a database thing in Node-RED?
So by default, Node-RED does not support MySQL.
Okay.
However, it does have something called a palette. So you can do manage palette, and you have this install tab here.
It's like an app store.
It's like an app store, yeah. So you can do a search for MySQL.
Okay.
And a few different ones come up.
Okay. Take the one with the most unicorns.
So you can sort it by most recently updated, for
Yeah.
example. So I think the one that I have tested is Node-RED MySQL.
Yeah.
And there's this install button here. So it will ask if you're sure, and then you can press install.
I just got offered a job, an internship even.
Okay.
So this is such a valuable stream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now there should be some MySQL related blocks on the left here.
Yeah, MySQL.
Yeah.
Over here.
Perfect. So we can go ahead and drag this one in.
Yeah. And just click it and we're done.
I wish. So the first thing you have to do is configure the location of the MySQL server and stuff like that. So this is similar to how we set up the Mqtt server, where you double click on the block and then go onto the pencil icon.
But this one is totally insecure since we do not do it. So to keep me employed, we're not going to configure any password on this database server.
Yeah. Who needs passwords?
Who needs passwords?
So the only thing we're entering is the name of the database.
Yeah.
Which for us is Grafana.
Yeah, and I think you need a username as well.
Yes. And
so how would it know the table name?
you can configure that later.
Okay.
So for the user, it's root. Of course, no password, because no root account should ever have a password, of course.
No.
So
access for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can press done on that.
Okay. So convenient has the database name, so if you have more database connections, it would show in your overview.
Yeah.
Grafana.
Yeah, yeah. So the next step would be getting the data from the Mqtt in.
Do we still have the table open? Can you go to the table? Yeah.
This one?
So I can write down all the.
Oh yeah, make some notes.
Date, time, temp, unit, press, light, int, real, and this is probably epoch. Okay. So we now need to fill them, and to make it a little bit more complicated, there's 2 temperatures.
Yeah. So one thing we could do is we could change the topic of the Mqtt in to limit it just to these sensors.
Yeah.
Because if we add new sensors later on, we may not want that to kind of go in here. And we also want to exclude the telemetry from going into here as well.
And prevent all the errors from the non-JSON stuff.
Exactly.
Cool. And you could make another path subscribing another thing inside here to do the telemetry.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we could change this one to instead of subscribing to the wildcard, we could have it set to the
okay.
This one, and this is the topic that this specific D1 mini is sending the data to, and that I think that's the right one. The one that ends in sensor, because this is the sensor data from this specific Tasmota installation,
which is in Tele.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can deploy that, and then
it should no longer have any errors inside.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Will it still deploy if there's an error in the database?
Yes. Okay. So the only
Crazy is already telling that if you're using Tasmota sensor for measurements and Tasmota state for the info on the device.
Yeah.
So you could have like different paths. So okay, the error that we get is like from the Mysql.
Yeah.
But we're only seeing like the sensor data now. Cool.
So we are getting an error from the MySQL thing, so perhaps we haven't set it up correctly. Maybe we missed something.
What's the name?
This is the name of like the block.
Oh, okay.
So the error is not supported auth mode. Does not support authentication. Consider upgrading the MariaDB client. Okay.
Maybe it requires a password?
Maybe.
Okay.
Would that also be root?
No, the password is empty.
Okay. Yeah, when I tested this last, I used the package called MySQL rather than MariaDB, so perhaps that was a bit more outdated, because it seems like this error is saying that Node-RED is using kind of an old protocol for accessing this.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
Okay.
Would have to kind of look up the error and figure out what that means exactly.
Yeah. So what you could do is log into MySQL.
We still have this one open.
Native password for root out of doesn't do. MySQL native password for root. Okay. So alter space user.
So is this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Root between. Yeah, it's over here.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I can't copy and paste this because the Pi is a different machine to where the chat is. So I will try.
Tor.
I will try and accurately type this.
No, this should be your password. Identified by.
Oh yeah. Crazy's put something slightly different in the chat to what you've got open there.
Identify with MySQL native password.
Yeah, so the example you have is identified by.
Yeah, this is for setting a password and this is for enabling stuff.
Yeah, I think.
So you need to do them both.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay.
So with native password.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. So if you do arrow up, then you can do an identified by, and then do Tor. Yep.
Right. For the extra secure password.
For the extra secure password. Cool.
Okay.
There was like a refresh thing that you need to do afterward. What was it again? For refreshing the flush privileges. Yeah, that's it.
So
you need to go back and do flush privileges. This one. Sorry, don't let me.
okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And now you should be able to test. So if you quit this one.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And
so it shouldn't work without a password.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And then you can do.
Tor.
Root and then.
Tor. Yeah.
Perfect.
Works.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that means in Node-RED we need to
specify
reconfigure the database connection to use Tor as a password.
Just lost my cause of existence. It's all secure now.
Yeah. I don't think Tor would appear in any kind of word lists.
No. You can throw a rock at it.
The internship includes MySQL spelling. Nice. Okay, so we now have a green box, and underneath it says connected.
Yeah.
So that appears to be working.
I know that from like Ikinga. If it's green boxes, then you can go home. If it's like yellow, red, or purple, then you have to stay a little bit longer.
Okay. So in order to put anything into MySQL, you need to construct the MySQL insert command.
So before we do that, should we first create variables for all the sensors that we have instead of directly putting them into?
Yes.
So is there like a constructs kind of thing that you can use, or variables that you can build, or?
There is a function block.
Oh, okay. So you can build it yourself.
So this is a JavaScript function.
Okay.
So there probably is a way of doing all of this without a function.
Programming, yeah.
Yeah. However, in my experience, it can be quicker to write maybe 4 lines of code. This is JavaScript, rather than having maybe 5 blocks.
Yeah.
Because it just makes it a bit neater, not having blocks everywhere.
Okay. So there's 2 sensors. There's the BME and there's the BMP.
Yeah.
So what I would like to do is like make it a little bit more advanced and use both readings and do an average on both.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Okay. So how would we get like a simple variable from one of these objects inside this JSON into our JavaScript?
Okay. So I'll just close the editor for a second.
Yeah.
So we have the Mqtt input connected to this function block with this kind of wire here.
Yeah.
So this means all of the messages coming out of the Mqtt end up in a JavaScript object called MSG, message.
Yeah.
So for now, all this function does is passes it straight through.
Okay.
Just return message, and that's it. So on the right of the screen with the debug viewer,
Yeah.
we can see what is inside of the message object by clicking where it says object.
So does that mean, like I see a time on the right?
Yeah.
That message dot time with uppercase T would show the time?
Yes. So message.time is this.
Okay.
So we could then make a JavaScript variable
Yeah.
with let or var, depending on whether.
I don't know.
Yeah. So let and then time.
Yeah.
And we can do message.time.
Okay.
Helps if you spell it correctly.
So what I see is that these timings differ. Do they differ? Or are they the correct time?
Yes.
No, they differ 1 hour.
So these are all 1 hour behind. Ah, yes. Correct. So
Crazy is saying you need to do.
Yeah. So it is message.payload.
Oh, it's UTC times.
Yeah. So I was message.payload.time. So payload is everything within the actual because there is metadata in all of these messages, and payload is the actual data we're interested in.
And this is a text string?
The time value is text.
Okay.
So it's a string, yeah.
So this being, what would be the proper way to turn this into our time zone? Is it like turning this into epoch and adding some extra seconds, like 3600?
I'm not sure what the correct way of doing it in JavaScript is, because I'm not actually a JavaScript programmer.
Okay.
You may have seen some of my JavaScript, and it's not good. I tend to hide it when possible. So we could possibly do something like time equals time plus 3600.
Yeah, but
that might work.
Yeah, but it's not an epoch right now, right? It's just a string.
It is just a string. However, yeah, okay, yeah. I was going to say JavaScript might convert it automatically, but it doesn't. It's, I believe, new and then date, I think.
Okay. So can we do a debug in
Yes.
between?
We will, whenever you're writing some code here, you can do a node.warn, and that puts a warning.
Okay, that's a alert box.
Into the debug.
Yeah.
So you could do node.warn and then time.
Okay. So it's now in epoch, so we want it back in visible.
This is a JavaScript date object now.
Yeah.
So I think you can add an integer to it.
Yeah.
And then the output here will also be a date object, but in the debugger, I think it will show it in a way that a human readable way. So we can just experiment and see what happens.
Yeah. This is what this stream is all about.
Yeah. So we
walking the way of shame. Yeah.
Okay.
So
no.
Yeah, it's GMT +2.
Yeah, but we have a 3600 on the end. I think.
Okay.
I think it's taken the string and put 3600 on the end.
So what did we do?
I think this has made a string and then appended 3600 on the end of the string.
Okay. So anyone, any suggestions on how to solve this? You can come up with your answers in the.
Yeah.
And you earn karma points. Creating a new date and ignoring your pay. It's creating a new date and ignoring your payload.
So the output of the command is still just message unaltered.
Yeah.
But this message warn here should be the time that we have edited, and it appears we are just appending a string onto the end of another string. So I think there may be a dot seconds, perhaps. Again, I'm not that great with JavaScript.
So date is expecting an epoch already.
Oh, I think I understand that message now. So new date may just be creating. Oh no, it is taking the correct value. Yeah, okay. Never mind. Sorry, what were you saying?
I thought it just a new date just takes milliseconds, but it is working apparently.
Yeah.
Or is it like the normal date? Is it using our date?
Yeah. Let's just comment that out for a second.
Okay. Date parse creates epoch. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Get other people to write the
Yeah,
code for
yeah,
us.
yeah.
So is the
Yeah, it's collaboration. Thank you, Crazy.
and then put that one back in.
Yeah.
I do vaguely remember this.
There's a. So now, okay.
So this is what we have now. So sorry, it was returning a number.
Yeah.
But if you click on it, you can convert it to a human readable form. So it was a number, and that number is an epoch value which returns this. So 1856. So that's quite a few hours ago.
It's 600. That's milliseconds, or that's a time zone.
Yeah, that's the milliseconds, I believe. Because the JavaScript timestamps are in milliseconds.
Yeah.
And you can see there is a 600 on the end of this one.
Ah, okay, yeah. So what did we do?
So it should be parsing the string
Yeah.
that is generated by Tasmota.
Yeah. So if we remove the time, it should show the time.
Yeah, if we remove the editing part and then see. So it's 1857 apparently.
So why does it show up as 1867?
So that's 3 hours ago in our time zone, and I thought UTC was 2 hours behind us.
Okay.
I'm confused because I'm not in my native time zone.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I can imagine. So if we add.
I know. It's in milliseconds because it's JavaScript. So
Oh,
3600 is like
yeah.
3.6 seconds or
Yeah.
something. So we need 3 zeros on the end of that.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's a mistake I make very often when doing JavaScript. So now we're on 1958, so
Okay.
that's an hour later than it was before.
Yeah, but it is now.
Yeah.
And now is 2059. So it needs to be 2159.
Yeah.
So it needs 3 times this value. 19, 20, 21. Yeah. So it needs 3 times 3600.
Yeah. Which is
3 star.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Could do it that way.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
So 21:59:46, and that
Cool.
is currently the
That's
correct time for here.
correct time, and it's epoch, so we can use epoch in Mysql.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, so we have the time parsed.
Yeah.
So we're still not doing anything with the message.
Nope.
So the next thing is we need to collect the temperature.
Yeah.
So temperature is like the second. So the ID is auto-generated. Now we have the date time. Now we need the temperature. There's 2 temperatures.
Okay. So if we take a look at the data from Mqtt.
BME and BMP. Oh, there's
Yeah. So these are
Yeah.
contain things. These are objects, so they have more
Yeah.
values inside. So we have the temperature from the BME, and we have the BMP temperature as well.
Yeah.
So to get those, we can have another variable called temp1, maybe, because there's two, we can have temp1.
Okay.
So it's message.payload dot BME
280-77
76
dot temperature, I think. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I hadn't noticed this before, but that -76
is the ID of I squared 0. I squared 2. Yeah.
So if you have multiple sensors that are identical, you can differentiate between them.
And thank you, Crazy, for the suggestion to use the address pins, because the BME and BMP are using the same I/O pin, but by connecting the last pin to VCC, you will create a ID that's 10 higher. Oh, you need to escape it?
Well, it's complaining about an unexpected 7, which I assume is because there's a dash in there. It's probably thinking it's a minus rather than. So what we could do is change this to an open square bracket and do it that way. So that's more familiar if you code in C or Python or anything like that.
Cool.
So you don't have to do a dot, you can do open brackets and then the name of the string between speech marks or quotes.
So we can copy the entire line, right?
We could copy the entire line, that would be a lot quicker, yes. So copy that and do paste.
So the other one is BMP and that's 77.
So that's BMP and then 77, yeah. Oops. So we have two variables, one called temp1 and one called temp2.
Okay.
And your suggestion was to make it an average.
Yeah.
So we could have a third variable called average temp. Or just temp.
Yeah.
Makes more sense. So temp equals, and we can do temp1 plus temp2 and then halved.
Sorry?
Then half it, divided by 2.
Yeah.
So that's a...
So the slash, will it make it into an integer in JavaScript?
I think this leaves it as a float.
Okay. Can we check that?
That is something we need to test, yeah. So what we can do is another node.warn as a kind of debug.
Yeah.
And then
temp.
Just temp.
Float.
Nice.
Okay.
So if we deploy that, we should get just a float being outputted into the warn section on this. And because I clicked it into a date before, it's attempting to parse this as epoch. And there seems to be no way of switching it back now. Because normally you just click on it and...
And if you use the trash can?
No, that clears the...
log, but not the debug.
Okay, so what we'll do is log the time again. I think we may have found a bug in Node-RED. Although refreshing the page may possibly help. So once the time appears, you can hopefully click on that to get it out of that mode. So this is the time. So back to just raw kind of value then.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's a bug in Node-RED.
I think so too.
You may be able to refresh the page to sort that one out.
So it's a float. Yeah.
So we've got 30.6, and if we go ahead and check the MQTT message, So we've got 29.7 and 31.5.
Yeah.
So some quick maths in my head says that is about 30.6,
Yeah.
the average.
Cool.
Seems about right at
Yeah.
least. And I am resting my palm right next to one of these sensors. So one will be slightly warmer than the other.
Yeah.
And it is quite a hot day here, so I think 30 is kind of reasonable.
Celsius, that is, not Fahrenheit
Yeah.
or
Yes.
Kelvin.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't like 30 Kelvin. No. So.
Okay, so we have temperature, now humidity.
Yeah.
Do we have multiple humidity?
I think.
Multiple pressure, multiple humidity?
I think we have one pressure and one humidity, but we can check. So in the BME we have temperature, humidity, dew
Yeah.
point, and pressure. And in the BMP we have just
double
temperature
pressure.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we could do an average of the pressure as well if you
Yeah,
wanted.
cool.
So we could probably just
Copy the entire,
entire
thing.
block.
Yeah.
This code's already starting to look like the code I normally write.
I was scared to put it on GitHub, but then someone told me put it online. If someone has a better ID, they can change it.
Yeah.
They can just send in a pull request.
Yeah. If they can do it better, they should.
They should. Yeah.
So press 1, 2, and just press. So it's called pressure with a capital P.
Yeah. And you need to change the temp as well here. The second temp 1, temp 2.
Yep, they are. Yeah.
Press
This is
1.
why my code never works.
No, that's not cool. That's correct.
So we know the temp works, so we can just change that to press, and I guess try it again just to make sure there's nothing kind of going wrong, but I think that should work.
Yeah.
So that seems about right.
Cool. So now we need to add humidity and light, which are single values.
Yeah. Maybe we should add a few kind of new lines in to make it slightly more readable. Maybe some comments. No? Okay.
Yeah.
So humid.
Do a code review.
I'm typing
you could.
I could have copied it.
You could have copied.
It's good practice.
Yeah, it is.
Payload and then. So the pressure, the humidity comes from the BME. Yeah.
Humidity.
And then that is called humidity.
Yep.
And the final one is
light from the BH1750.
Yes.
Illuminance.
Yep. They've given it a fancy name. We'll just call it light.
Yeah. Light in lux.
Yeah.
HPA.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. No, I'll type it in again because I'm like that.
Because I'm like that. I'm like that.
So that's the BMP.
No,
it's not BMP at all.
BH
It's
7050.
1750.
Yeah.
And that is
Illuminance.
Oh, so there's no ID on the end of this because there's only one. So because there's two.
No, is there?
Oh no,
There's multiple.
I don't know. Because the other two have the 77 and the 76 on the end.
Yeah.
But this one does not.
Oh, like that. Yeah. Okay.
So we now have JavaScript variables within this function block for each of our sensor datas.
Oh, they use the same driver, the BMP and BME.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Thanks for elaborating. So now we could return a SQL command.
We could. I'm just saving that. Okay. So we can make another variable called SQL.
Okay.
Or SQL, if
Yeah.
depending on how you like to pronounce things. So that will be an insert into command,
Yeah.
I believe. So now we are constructing the MySQL command
Yeah.
to send to the MySQL server. So insert into Grafana, and we want
the names of the, so that will be bracket open
brackets,
yeah.
and then so it's
so not ID, because ID is auto generated. Will be datetime in lowercase, with an M, comma temp, comma umit, comma press, comma light, space after that one is values,
and then the brackets again for each value.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you need to convert the integers and reals into strings to concatenate those. Or are you going to sprintf them, or? Okay, now. You need to convert them.
Yeah.
So this is not the best way to do it, not the most secure way, but
no. There are definitely better ways of doing it.
But like for demonstration's sake.
Yeah, and Crazy has suggested we could have MySQL fill in the date time, which is a good suggestion. However, if there is
it would not feel good to me as the date. Like if the date is delayed somehow.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So the way I'm doing it at home is looking at the date sent by
the sensor itself
in Mqtt.
Yeah.
Because occasionally you can get delays in the messages, or if, for example,
it is milliseconds, but we need to be strict.
Yeah. So it's a bit more accurate doing it this way generally.
So you could do it in MySQL if you're not caring about doing it like once every 5 minutes, but like if you're doing it like every 10 seconds, then it might be different.
Okay.
Okay.
So the first value is date time.
Yeah.
So we could just do a plus and then.
Yeah, does that work?
We can find out.
Okay.
We can do an experiment.
Yeah.
And I'm sure someone may comment that this is vulnerable to SQL injection. If
you have a sensor that creates a pressure that is or 1 is 1,
If your pressure suddenly becomes drop tables or something like that, there could be a problem.
Yeah.
But this is a kind of basic setup, and someone would have to get into your Mqtt server in the first place.
For worse threat model if someone is in your house altering your sensors. So
because this is on a private network that hopefully isn't accessible by anybody else, we're going to leave it like this.
Yeah.
For now. So plus time, then plus the comma.
Yeah, comma.
And then
humid.
It's also a very unreadable code.
Okay. Plus press. Plus light.
I don't think JavaScript is one of the languages that complains when you mix up different.
Okay.
I think you can put an int into a string. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you can in JavaScript.
And then parentheses.
Yeah. And then you put a semicolon
and a semicolon to the command.
Yes.
Okay.
So this could be made a bit more readable, but I think for now it's okay. So before we start trying to put data into MySQL, let's take a look at what
What a good idea!
the command we've generated. So
Drop tables.
So we'll do another node .1,
Yep.
and that will be the SQL, so the
Okay.
command we've just generated. And we can just comment out these other ones,
Yep.
so we don't get as much kind of junk appearing in the output.
Okay. Deploy it.
Have some liquids.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Good advice.
So while we wait for a message to appear,
Yeah. Works.
I will have some
Liquids.
fluids.
Works like a charm.
So
Humid, press, lights. Yeah.
that looks about right.
Yeah. Maybe there needs to be a space between Grafana and the parentheses.
Yeah, I think there does.
Okay. Don't know, but yeah, feels like it.
Yeah. So we can. What we need to do next is just quickly read the documentation because I've forgotten.
Okay.
So if you need more information about any of these blocks, you can click on it and then press this I button up here, and it gives you kind of a basic help documentation on how to work it.
Don't forget to set the actual payload.
Yep. I'm doing that now. However, I just needed to remember where you put the payload. So in this case, message.topic needs to hold the query for the database, and then the result from MySQL goes into message.payload.
Okay. So
So
you can chain them.
yeah. So for this, we need to do, before the return message, we need to do message.topic
Yeah.
equals
With one eye.
equals SQL.
Cool.
And then you can go ahead and join this function to the MySQL block.
Okay.
And then deploy it.
So now we can go to the command line and do Mysql dump on Grafana.
Yeah.
Something is now not right.
Oh, yeah, we have an error.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got an error. Wrong value count on row.
So crazy.
1, 2.
Yeah. Sorry, it's gonna keep. If I scroll up, it'll stop. Yeah. So crazy says hook up the debug to the output
2, 3,
of
4,
Grafana.
5. We miss one.
Okay. Yeah, we have. So a suggestion would be to take the output of this and also put it into the debug.
Okay.
However, when there's a fatal error,
Yeah.
it does appear in the
Yeah.
output here anyway. So which one did we miss? We have date, time, temp, humidity.
Date, temp, humid, press, light.
Okay. Temp, humid, press. Okay.
There's a time. This is it called time in the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
daytime.
temp is missing.
Temp.
Yeah.
Okay.
So temp is before or after humid? Before. isn't it?
Before.
Oops. So plus and temp and then a comma.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will be it. So we'll go ahead and hook up the output of.
Oh, you can add multiple outputs.
So this is the output of the database
Yeah.
command going into the debug.
Input of the
Yeah.
debug. Okay.
So you can have as many things as you want going into one single kind of debug.
Okay.
So if there's kind of information, it will show up as well as just errors now. So incorrect date time value. Earlier I tested this with a human readable string
Yeah.
rather than an epoch value.
Yeah.
So I think
We can turn it back into a readable value by using to locale string.
yeah, to locale string. This may have been the correct way to do it in the first place, because I think if you actually parse a date into a JavaScript date,
Yeah.
you can then do to locale string and then choose your time zone.
Oh, okay.
I think. So you don't have to do this plus and then.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not really an expert at
Yeah.
kind of.
Cool.
Yeah. So
we need the yeah.
So I think what we can do to make sure this hasn't converted it to the wrong time zone or anything crazy like that, we can do node.warn and then the time, and then we can just return null.
Does it work like this, or do you need to set time to time equals time.locale?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Okay. JavaScript is such a YOLO language.
So we now have a very large number, which isn't what I expected to see.
No. So locale string requires to locale string, yeah. Or do you need to put the string in between the parentheses? No, you do not. But this is time. They're talking here about date.
The time is the name of the variable.
Oh, okay, it's still
so
date. Yeah,
it is. It is technically a date, but I've called it time.
So they're specifying ENGB, and our numeric, like some other stuff.
We could try putting in the time zone into here. I think that's how you do it.
Just using a 24-hour. So EN, yeah.
EN
dash GB uppercase.
Will that not set it to a British time zone?
We'll see.
Okay. See what happens.
Or it's ENNL.
Yeah.
It will set it to something.
So it's outputting a string, and the string is a number.
Yeah.
Which appears to be the epoch in milliseconds. Whereas I thought to locale string was meant to give you a human readable.
Yeah. So if you do create a new date from date now, does it work?
Okay, let's try that. Oops. So if we do let time
is new date.
New date. So this should set it to now.
Yeah, and date now. So you give it like a start. Date now. Yeah. Okay.
See what this one does.
Then we know that like the the interpretation of the it's CEST, so it's Central European Summertime. That's the Amsterdam time.
Yeah.
So the interpretation of the time did not went well using the date parse command.
Okay.
Or date parse to ISO string.
Okay. Let's try that then.
Okay.
So new date and then date.parse inside the new date.
Okay, yeah, clear.
So date.
Because now it's like a number and should be inside a date.
Yeah.
Date parse message payload dot time.
So and the to ISO string as well.
No, that's when you convert it back.
Okay.
So now you create a variable that has the date, which is in epoch, and then you can add the date to it. So if you do not add to it and only put it to ISO string, then it should have the. So can we test it by doing the conversion without doing the?
Yeah, without the plus.
Yeah.
So comment this line out.
Yeah. And then use the time in to ISO string. So for the people that are watching this that do not see the chat box that we see, is that Crazy is handing us code to make this work. So we have some issues with parsing the date.
So I think
Yeah,
I think we
like
can
this.
Let's give that a try.
Okay. So and if this has a wrong offset, we can add to the offset. So this has a wrong offset, so we need to add to the offset.
So we still have
we
it.
Enable it, the
Okay.
line, and then we're home free.
There probably is an option to convert between time zones, but
Yeah, it's not the correct one, but yeah.
yeah, it works.
To ISO string is not a function.
Fair enough.
Yeah, all disclaimers about not being a programmer. To ISO string.
Try string with a lowercase. Maybe the 2 with an uppercase.
JavaScript to ISO string.
Yeah, I do recognize that as a function, but I think the case is wrong.
Date. Okay. To ISO string. It should be.
Yeah, same as what I've written here.
Yeah. But that does not work. To ISO time ISO string is not a function.
Yeah, it's no longer a date because we converted it to an int with the plus thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we can turn it back into a date. I definitely don't think this is the correct way of doing
Okay. Changing time zones.
New date around your calculated
Date.
So new date and then time.
Changing date to a new time zone.
I'm
Oh.
I'm almost certain this is bad
what you can
practice.
do is add to the string plus.
Oh yeah.
So if you add the plus to the string that's coming from the payload.
Yeah. So just comment this out.
So you can comment those two out, yeah.
So I think what we're going to try next is appending a plus to the end of this.
Yeah.
So
quote space.
so the current value is that.
Yeah.
And we're going to put a.
So that's a space plus 0300.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is time zone information that we're now putting into here.
Correct. Or offset information towards time zones.
Mm-hmm. So we're still converting it to an ISO string.
Yeah, that's
but
correct.
It will actually be a date time object this time.
Yeah, but we're creating a ISO time to have it imported into MySQL.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Parse. No. Oh yeah. We should have just used the MySQL current time. Yeah, but what's the fun in that? in format. So can we add? Can we show the screen first? Can we make the payload time plus the?
Yeah. So put the print out what would.
What would be parsed?
Yeah. Okay. So we'll make another function.
Oh, there's.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
To ISO string. New date. You can add the time zone to the toLocale string.
Oh.
Do we have a toLocale string?
We were using that earlier.
Okay.
But didn't get it working.
Would that work on the ISO string as well?
I'm not sure.
To ISO string time zone. Time zone is always 0 offset. Okay, yeah, if we can see this one, so if this adds a Z to the end.
So this is what it is attempting to parse, and then it is saying invalid time value.
The only thing that I see is that there's a T between the date and time.
Yep.
Can we replace the T with a space?
Sure.
Oh.
I think we can safely do a actual replace function for the T, can't we? I don't think a T
what
ever
I
occurs
see
otherwise.
is that it has milliseconds as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe this helps, maybe it doesn't. Get time.
Okay, I think that may have worked.
But now we do not add the 3600.
Yeah. I think we've gone backwards in time actually because we've done a plus. I think this is saying
okay.
It's plus
yeah,
3
it's
hours
plus,
ahead.
so it needs to be
Needs
minus.
to be a minus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've removed the. Okay, yeah, I think this may be right actually.
Okay.
So if we deploy that again. So that's what it parses. That's the string it parses, and this is the output. So now it's tomorrow.
Okay.
So that's quite far out.
So it
now.
needs 1 hour only. If this is the original.
Yeah.
So it's +1.
So change it back to a plus and then 1.
No, -1.
Minus. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a few hours out before, but now it isn't.
Yeah, but it's using UTC time now.
Okay.
But the time that comes out is in Zulu. It's in UTC.
The Z on the end. Can try it.
Okay. Is it deployed?
Yeah, I think so.
Because still 300.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
Oh, now it's 100. And this is why I take that 1 second offset for granted. Yeah, can imagine.
Okay, so it's 22:35, which is the current time here.
Yeah, it is.
So if we now remove this,
return null.
Yeah, I put that in there for testing purposes. Yeah. So if we remove that,
and the warning,
remove the warning too.
Then it should create valid inserts.
Hopefully, yeah. If we're lucky.
Yeah.
So the delay after deploying it is the delay in the sensor data, because it only sends every 10 seconds, if anyone's wondering. So there's another error from MySQL, which is probably, oh, it's talking about the
oh, there needs to be a string now.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need to quote the datetime in the insert, we know.
Yeah.
Thanks. So escape quote. Yep.
And then
one and yeah. Okay. That should be it.
Okay. So MySQL is again complaining about the datetime format.
Okay. So maybe the Z at the end?
Yeah. Can cut that off, I suppose.
Yeah, sure. In the time? Or do you want to do it here?
Yeah, can do it just above here, I suppose. Oh no, we can do it here after converting it to a string. So there is a command for stripping a value off the end in JavaScript. Oh yeah, nice. Okay, so time equals time dot substring.
Starting at 0.
And then going to
string length.
The end -1.
Yeah. str length meaning time length.
Yeah.
Stack Overflow, all the things. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that looks about right.
Yeah.
Okay, so now MySQL has returned some information telling us that
Crazy is reacting. Woohoo!
So affected rows 1, and inserted ID is 1 because it's the first. And so is it
crash?
No,
no.
This is my
warning. It went okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I use warn for my debug log level.
Yeah.
Guessing another strong drink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we can quit this and do a MySQL dump.
We can.
Okay.
Dash dump.
MySQL dump one command. Space ptor. Yeah, you're the root. So.
True.
Grafana.
Oh, is it not?
No, just Grafana. Okay,
just like that.
That's it. Okay, scroll up. Oh, here it is.
So, yeah, value. So ID 1 with the correct time, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks about right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got data.
So
Already 7 records.
Run the command again, and yeah, it's still appearing.
9 records.
Yep.
We're such a big data developer.
Yep.
So now I want to see this in a special graph.
Yes.
Next time in the stream. So are you still up for making this visible, or do you just want to head off to bed? Crazy, since you're the only one left in the stream. No, don't matter, because we're going to do it anyway. Thank you for cheering for us.
And hopefully the Grafana installation will go slightly quicker than the
They did last time?
than the construction of
Yeah, and then the construction of a date field.
Yes.
Yeah. I think the rest of the stream was quite like not comparable to any of the other streams where like everything was failing and hacked, and so it went pretty well.
Okay.
Grafana.
How do we install that again?
Apt install Grafana? Don't know.
No,
Suffix?
not that one. No.
Why?
No, that's a monitoring agent for Grafana.
Oh, okay.
We will try just Grafana. No.
No.
Okay. So we will have to find the website for installing Grafana.
So welcome to our journey of finding out how Grafana install works on the Raspberry Pi.
And believe it or not, I have actually done this recently. I've just not made any notes. So download, and then
download is malicious RPM.
Sounds good. Someone's one step ahead of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always good to wget / sudo stuff.
So
Ubuntu Debian, right?
Yeah, I was just checking they don't have a Raspbian, but they don't appear to. So shall we just YOLO it and paste that straight in?
Yeah, I would do it one by one.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, that was interesting.
I think you clicked on the link downloading the...
Oh, yeah.
So, lib font config. Okay, interesting username. Yeah, could do that ourselves, yeah.
I don't think I've ever really used it. Oops. No, we're not doing that today.
No. Sleep well.
Put that into the MySQL folder.
Yeah, that would be a perfect place in the log folder even.
The log folder, yeah. And then it's
Yeah, make someone else find it and call it a flag.
Okay, so yeah, that's compiled for MD, and we are on ARM, so that's the incorrect package.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they've got there's one that says ARM.
Oh.
Okay, so we've done this bit.
Yeah. So we need the other.
Yeah. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll move out of the logs folder.
Yeah.
And just remove this one.
CD enter.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's do it as root rather than putting it in. Yeah. Okay. So download the correct package this time. And
up.
Is it? Oh yeah, it's the. Well, it's got a different name.
Oh, it's got a different name.
I could have typed
You
it
are
quicker
root,
than,
so.
Yeah.
we could use Docker and install like a gazillion extra files. So, sorry. Not working,
So
what did we do wrong?
one is 64-bit and one is 32-bit, I believe. So I think we want... it helps when you actually read what's on the page. So we want the one that says ARM HF if it is even on here. So the Raspberry Pi is...
this one, right?
So the Pi is ARM HF.
Yeah.
And this is ARM V7.
ARM HF?
Oh yeah, okay.
So is it ARM 7 or ARM 6, the Pi? I expect 7.
We've tried 2 different packages.
Yeah,
so,
why not try some more?
Let's go with third time lucky.
Yeah.
Delete
And get yourself that stiff drink crazy. Yeah, just...
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
You need a stiff drink, Joseph. Woohoo!
Finally installed the package.
105,599 files installed. Oh, currently installed. Okay. So it even enabled, started the daemon. You need to do that.
It's not starting on installation, and then it's telling you to execute these.
Yes, I could do those for you, but you lazy bastard, you need to do it yourself.
Oh.
Right mouse click?
Yeah, you can do that, or you can do shift. Shift and control at the same time.
And you need to start it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that should be the installation done.
Yeah.
So Grafana should now be running on the default port,
which is.
I don't know. I didn't make any notes. I can.
Let me Google that for you.
I might be able to get there quicker because I have it bookmarked 3000.
Okay.
I have a default Grafana installation bookmarked on
my first was $port, and the second entry was 3000.
Okay, so we're now prompted for credentials. Okay, you do have to enter credentials, so let's try
admin
and admin.
Okay. So the new password is
admin.
Oh yeah, sure.
The old password's admin, and the new password is also admin.
Okay. And it's perfectly safe.
No one will ever guess that.
Yeah.
The default is admin, so any hackers will think it's a honeypot and not break in with that password.
Yeah.
Because surely no one could be kind of that
stupid.
Yeah. So on the left-hand tab, we've got a few different buttons, but we want the create button and create dashboard. So this gives us a new empty dashboard with a single panel here. So we can click on the add new panel button, and before we even do anything, there's example data in there.
I thought we were already done.
So this is just example data.
Okay.
So for now we don't have any databases configured. So I probably should have done that first.
Yeah.
But here's a nice example graph.
Yeah.
So we'll discard
This is how it's got to be. Now do your work.
Yeah. So down here we have the configuration button, and then you can do data sources.
Okay.
To configure a data source.
Yeah.
So we are using Mysql.
Yeah.
Also known as it's
Mysql.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if it would call it
MariaDB.
So host is again localhost, and we need to specify ports.
ESP8366.
And the database is Grafana.
Grafana.
We don't enter any tables here because we do that later on.
Okay.
So we need to have the username and password, which is root and
Tor.
Tor. We don't have any encryption or anything because that's for people who care about security, and the rest can stay on default.
He doesn't mean it. Save and test.
Save and test.
Works.
And the basic test says it
Yeah.
works.
Okay.
So press
Delete.
again.
And it's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. So now we can create a dashboard, like I said earlier. And don't save the password because you don't want it to be insecure. You don't want the
No.
you wouldn't want anyone to access it.
Yeah.
So we can now start using the data we are putting into the database via Node-RED. So so down here we are constructing a query. So from Grafana, and that's the only one we have available because it's the only one we've made. The time column is date time, so it's guessed that correctly. We don't want the ID. This is what we are graphing essentially. So we don't want to graph the ID because that's an ID.
What's the metric column?
The metric is for when you have multiple kind of pieces of data grouped together.
Okay.
So for now, we just want a basic graph of, say, light.
Yeah.
And I believe we may be having time zone issues again.
Okay.
So if we select a date in the future to display, so between now 6 hours ago and now 3 hours in the future, there we go.
Okay.
So the data is coming in at 0:50, so 10 minutes to 1 a.m. Instead of 22:50.
So this is how much in the future?
It is 2 hours in the future.
Instead of 3 hours.
Yes.
So if we go back to Node-RED.
I'm not sure if this is perhaps because the time zone of the Pi is wrong.
Okay.
Let's see what the Pi thinks the time zone is. Oh yeah, we did set that correctly, didn't we?
Okay.
This is why everything should just be UTC. So Node-RED.
Yeah.
So the insert is
And the correct.
our correct time zone. However, we're not giving it time zone information, so it may be interpreting this as
UTC.
UTC. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we go back to the function, the other one was how much off?
The one in Grafana is 2 hours off.
So in would that mean like plus 1?
It's ahead by 2 hours, so we need to make it go backwards by 2 hours.
So we need to put this in the future. So
I think
plus 1.
Plus 1, yeah.
Okay.
And this absolutely is not the correct way to do it.
No.
I'm fairly sure we should be specifying a time zone somewhere rather than just plussing things. And
so if we now delete the data that is in the P Tor, use Grafana.
Okay, yeah. And then we can use truncate.
Grafana. Okay. No rows. Delete.
I think if we delete it, it will get rid of the.
No.
Oh yeah. Delete
from Grafana.
From. Is it not delete star from Grafana?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Oh yeah, it did it.
Yeah.
Okay. So did it work? Okay. So we now go back to.
Just wait for another sensor data to come in, just to make sure there is something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something. Back to Grafana, and we need to press the refresh.
Yeah, and we have data now.
So the time is 22:54.
Yeah.
Which is
Correctly.
about right, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a hack way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to set up like proper time and time zones and all the stuff, and look up like the default, like using UTC is great, especially if you have like sensors from all around the world. So are we able to do multiple sensors in this graph?
Yep.
With multiple colors, for instance.
So at the moment we are doing select light, so that returns nothing but light.
Okay.
So if we wanted, for example, both temperature and humidity on one graph, you can do the plus button, and then you can do a column. So you're telling it to give you a second column.
Yeah.
And then you can do humid. So now up here we have temperature and humid on one graph.
Yeah.
However,
there's different scales.
Different scales, so we can make it look better on the next tab. And this is a different Grafana version than what I'm used to. So there is a section for changing the style.
Fit, exact. Okay.
So you can customize the kind of look and feel of each graph, but I'm using an outdated version at home, so I'm not too familiar with this.
Transform?
Yeah, this is something different.
Okay.
It's like, yeah.
So what's the name of the function?
You can try saving this and then maybe editing it from this view instead. So
formatted as time series.
Where's that, sorry?
On the button?
Yeah, it's asking whether it's a table or time series data.
Multiple time ranges, support in Grafana.
Panel and then visualizations. Oh, visualizations here.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it used to be in this tab down here, but they seem to have moved it to this tab.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is looking more familiar now. So, for example, you could switch it to bars or things like that if you wanted, but we just want two graphs on one.
Yeah.
So we can do axes. So I think this is what we're looking for. So the left Y is the temperature.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if we tell it this is a temperature, no, it's not, definitely not in there.
Energy?
Could be energy. Oops. Ah, that kind of energy.
Okay. Oh.
Temperature.
Yeah.
Keep misclicking.
Yeah.
Celsius.
Okay.
The scale.
Oh, that's very cool. And then the right is something else.
The right is humidity. Oh. So we could set this to a percentage, but they may have a humidity option. Although there is absolute humidity and relative humidity, and this is relative, which is just a percentage.
Oh, okay.
So we could just use, it's probably not in, no, miscellaneous percent, yeah. So it's 0 to 100.
Yeah.
You
need to apply it, or?
I think it shows a preview of it here without applying.
Okay.
This is a Raspberry Pi 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. With how many? 8 gig? Did you say?
4, I think.
Okay. Cyber asks in the chat.
Ah, okay.
What does align y-axis do? Okay. So that is okay.
That you need to enable it, or
Enable it.
oh. If you switch this one, the y-axis, it will. Okay. Nope, wasn't it? Okay. Percentage. So if you apply it, because it.
Yeah. So it's still putting them on the same. Oh, it's showing them both as Celsius. So it hasn't realised there's two Y's here.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So we may have to
Define.
that, yeah. I think that may be series overrides. It's been a while since I've kind of. I don't know. I don't think that's what we're looking for. Although we can try it. We can do.
Oh, it's already there. Make two separate queries instead of 2 columns in one query.
So y-axis 1.
Okay.
And then we can set the other two y-axis 2.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. So
I'm in the wrong thing.
that's series override. Yeah. It's already there. Yeah.
And this is
Y series.
Oh.
Two.
There
Yeah, works.
so
Cool.
apply that. So it's working, but the data's so squashed together
Yeah,
because we're looking
but
at
we
6
can
hours.
zoom in, right?
Yeah, we're looking at 6 hours of data in when we only have like 2 minutes. So if we do the last
5 minutes.
okay, can zoom that way.
No, we can't.
When you specify the last hour, for example, it says no data, and then 3 hours, there is data.
Okay.
And then when you zoom, it's no data again.
Can you scroll left or right? No. Oh, you can go to the right and to the left.
With this?
No, on site.
Oh yeah. So I don't know if the data is like in the future or in the past, or this feels like it may be a time zone issue again.
Yeah. So can you click on it to edit?
Edit that to tomorrow, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so again, this is probably because we haven't done the time zones right.
Right.
Oh, maybe there's a Grafana time zone you have to set up
Ah,
in the
yeah,
preferences.
yeah.
Save that. So
Preferences.
Time
Time
zone.
zone. Default.
So the default is this time zone.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And UTC.
Yeah.
And then we can alter.
Yeah. So let's see if we have time zone. Oh, it's not the one we wanted.
Manage.
Where did I?
You saved them.
I did save it.
Yeah,
as
new dashboard. Here
dashboard.
it is.
So if we now do this. So if we do the last 5 minutes, this is showing 2100 hours, which is 2 hours ago.
Okay.
Which is UTC.
Yeah.
UTC is 2 hours behind this time zone.
So if you go
Back to the time zone option.
yeah. So did we set it just to BST? Yeah, we are in UTC +2. Oh, the default is GMT. Oh.
Which is
We should be CEST, but yeah.
it's the same. They're
Yeah,
both
it's the
+2.
same. Yeah.
Okay. Shall we try that?
Yeah.
So
It looks okay.
when
But
you
this,
mouse, sorry, Karen.
yeah, no. When you mouse over,
When you mouse over, the time is saying 2307, which is correct. And then when you zoom into the area of 2307, we're now at 2302.
yeah,
Although this is 2306 to 2308, so the
scale is wrong.
yeah, the scale goes wrong because
There's
there is
no
no
data,
data to
yeah.
show. So it's on the default scale because there is no data to change the scale. But yeah, it is acting quite strange.
So now there's data.
Yeah, when you keep zooming out, it eventually shows data.
This is odd.
Yeah. Can't say I've ever
Needs
seen
more
this before.
data for zooming in.
Maybe. Suppose it could be a bug with lack of data, but
Okay. Grafana. Zoom in.
but we do have a nice graph as long as you don't interact with it.
Yeah.
So it's, job done.
Check. Why is my graph empty when I zoom in?
That sounds good.
Frequently asked questions, Grafana.
That sounds like it could be what we're looking for.
One way to troubleshoot this is go into the graph display and check points checkpoint. This way you should see that there is indeed data there. Ah, huh.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah, that's the same one.
the page we're on.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do we do? Check there's data there.
Check points checkbox. There's a points checkbox somewhere. Scroll down. Maybe. Points.
Points.
Okay. Yeah.
So turn that on.
Yeah. This way you can see that there's data there, but why there's no data in between them? The reason is that Elasticsearch and Influx has a group by time feature where. So if you go back to the board and zoom in. Okay.
So it sounds like that's talking about InfluxDB.
Yeah, and we're not using that.
No, we're using MySQL.
So this greater than 10 seconds, if you write every 10 seconds, you can lower this limit in the group by time interval below your queries in the metrics data.
We do have some group by stuff here.
These are the default query settings.
Sorry?
The root cause of the problem is, however, not the null values, but in fact that the group by time interval is lower than the rate at which the data is written. Data collection frequency. So if you only write your time series store every 10 seconds, you do want the group by time interval to go below this value.
Okay.
You find the global data source option where you can specify a lower limit for the group by time interval.
Okay. So we need the
configuration
data source.
Yeah, I think so. Save. Time interval.
Okay. So 10 seconds.
Yeah.
That is how often we are putting data into into MySQL for now.
Okay. No. And you cannot scroll up and scroll down?
The scroll wheel doesn't seem to do anything.
Ah, okay, okay. Yeah. I run into the same problem myself. It seems to be due to the fact that Grafana is truncating times to milliseconds despite the fact that they may store the database at the high precision. Another potential cause I discovered today just after the time is Grafana data source, my measurement display. Be sure your Grafana and your host publishing data are configured for the correct daylight time zone savings, or it will break your Zoom.
I'm not entirely sure our time zones are set up correctly.
Yeah. So are we able to see it when we look at now, or now plus 5 minutes?
So
last 5 minutes.
Yeah. It only seems to appear when we do last 3 hours.
Okay. It
seems to go at last 1 hour. So 3 hours is fine, and then anything less isn't.
Okay.
So in this situation, maybe we just close the issue and say, don't zoom in that much.
Yeah.
Stop zooming in so hard.
Stop zooming in. No, I think that the zoom function only works on UTC.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I assume. Yeah. Take UTC for all the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a fun evening where we did a lot of things. Configured a Raspberry Pi to flash a chip, did Mqtt, Node-RED, Grafana. So should be get people started. So thank you for the people that are still here, diehards. Especially Crazy for being so helpful, sending out all these URLs. Yes, I'm going to try Grafana. Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, it was fun, and I think this got me kick-started. So I have a lot of sensors that I need to install yet, and a lot of cables that I still need to solder to not only have one device but have multiple. What are you doing?
I've added the light sensor to the right graph here,
Yeah.
and then just held it up to the light. So we now have a big spike in the data.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
You know, we can't zoom in, but we can kind of get some visualization going on.
So we should figure out how this works, but as this is a go as we go kind of stream, this is not as sexy as most other streams, but this is how you would do it yourself as well, and then dive into it and make it more secure and sexy and whatever. So thank you very much. It's even before 12 o'clock, at least according to our time zone. Thank you all for joining and for watching whenever you are watching this later. We're going to close the stream. So, bye.
Goodbye.